And I got to move 10 in this game, and I'm like, I hate myself. Why do I do this? Why am I so dumb? I have pushed literally every single one of my pawn and have not moved 3 of my pieces. I was dead lost in the opening, and then I made my knights way better than his bishops in the middle game and was dead winning at one point. But now it's over, and I may or may not have screwed all of it up. This is round 2 of the Rhode Island State Championship, on my way to 2200 and to play in all 50 states. One of those things is more easily achievable than the other, and it's game in 45 plus 10 seconds per move. That being said, let's hop right into it. So I lost my first game against a young Asian kid, and this time I'm hoping to bounce back. What I didn't know about my opponent is that his published rating for the tournament was 1404, but I got his live rating before the tournament, which is 1500, and he's provisional. Provisional 13 games. That makes me feel slightly better, but if you see this game, you might. I don't think anyone should feel good. So I play the Karakhan, like usual, and he plays the fantasy variation. I play the fantasy variation. And usually the fantasy, both players are happy. Usually black and white, everyone's happy because it's interesting and fun. I play Queen B6, and usually the fantasy players are just going to play a setup with Knight C3 and Bishop E3, and they almost like always do that because that's just a very natural way to set up in the fantasy. He plays Knight C3. I decided to take on E4 and play E5. This is the main challenging way to play. Black doesn't have to take on E4 and play E5. They can play E6 instead, but you're really challenging the center, and it's always nice if white takes, because now I can play Bishop E6, control this open diagonal, and I'm going to win this pawn back eventually, just very slowly. But of course he doesn't do it. He plays more principal lead and just develops his knight to F3, and I take on D4 and he takes back with the queen. I've had this position before, so I trade queens. I've had this position before against a 1900 young Indian kid, Ayansh Pramanik, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I've had this position against him in the Exton Open back in June. In that game, I played Bishop C5, played Knight B3, I played Bishop 4, he played Bishop D2, and I eventually, after many moves, went on to win that game. I played too fast, and I actually legitimately just mixed up my move order, and I went Bishop B4 immediately. The difference is that this knight guards E6 and can also help into F5. So if I play Bishop C4 more easily, and I can't meet it with Bishop E6 without isolating my pawn. Well, I play with isolated e-pawns all the time against the fantasy. So I didn't see an issue, except it's very, very different. Very, very different. My game against Ayansh, after I went here, Knight B3, Bishop here, and I went to here, eventually he moved his knight around and took on E6. It took him a while to get there. In the meantime, he played Bishop D3, I got my knight to E5, and a very good positional game. But with this move order, I'm like, whatever. With this move order, I'm like, whatever. I'll just go Bishop E6 right now. It doesn't matter. I just have an isolated pawn. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Except he didn't waste any time. He wasted 0 time moving his pieces around, and so he just takes on E6, play Bishop C4, and I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm in deep trouble. I'm in deep trouble, and it's like only move it was move. I guess I played Bishop E6 on move 9. I'm already in so much trouble because I'm not going to put my king on an open file where it's going to get attacked by a rook. I want to play Bishop E7, but now you can play Bishop E5 check, Bishop D5 check if you wanted to. He doesn't play it. I'm not sure if he either missed the move or I guess he just wanted to prioritize development. But this move is really, really strong because what do I do? I just have to lose this pawn straight up, because if I go knight F6, of course he pins, and usually this pin doesn't matter because this doesn't come with check, but it does come with check in this case. So I'm just down a piece if I go knight F6. So yeah, that's bad. And if I don't do that, I'm like, like how? Like, what am I doing? Like, or castles, or and if I go the other way, castles the other way. Like, it's really, really bad. But by some grace, he just castles. No, he wants to prioritize development. Okay, she's like, whew, game at 45, and I'm so lost. And so I play H6. I'm like, okay, I'm not. I'm going to try not to lose here. And he plays E5. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, knight D2. Attack the pawn. Attack the pawn. He defends the pawn. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this is a nightmare scenario. Like, I was already just so distraught. Like, the last game, round 1, I lost for the first time in a way that I didn't hate myself. I no longer hated myself. And I got to move 10 in this game, and I'm like, I hate myself. Why do I do this? Why am I so dumb? And his knight is going to go to D6 potentially. Like, I was thinking about, like, okay, if I go, like, rook D8 or something, knight E4, then we trade, and then he's going to go back to D. Like, that is what he's going to try to do. And I don't have a good response. I really, really don't. So, well, my only response that I can come up with is just to take the knight. And I'm like, okay, I'm underdeveloped as the bishop pair. However, his bishop is staring into his own pawn. There's that. But this is very, very worse for me. He plays a really good move. After I play G5, because I want to just get my rook out. My rook out to F7, and then potentially go H5 at some point, my knight out. But I have to be careful if I play H5, because he can swing the bishop back, and now G5 is like really loose, and most times I can't defend it. If I have to push it, now he's getting a check-in, and my king's naked. So I have to be very, very careful with it. But at the very least, I can play G5 and get my rooks out. And then I can worry about this G knight later if I can go, like, king, E8 when this bishop, isn't hitting the pawn, So I'm just trying to just get my rook out. Just trying my best. He plays a really good move, rook D1. Saying, okay, well, now this pawn is defended by the bishop. I'm going to put my rook in the open file, and his threat is really nasty. Like, rook D6, I can't stop it. Like, I can't stop it. And sacrifices are almost working for white. Like legitimately. It's really, really scary. For example, like, even in this position, I was calculating, like, oh my gosh, like, what if he just, like, if I go, like, rook, like, if I go H5 in this position, which I don't think is good for multiple reasons, if I did go, like, H5, then he could, like, take and go check, and I'm like, this is so bad. I could even go here too. And I'm like, dude, like, this might just be losing for me too. Because I have no activity. And all my pieces on the back rank. And he has two beautiful bishops that are like crisscross applesauce in my position. So I was like really, really worried. So I ended up playing B5. And my idea was, okay, if he moves the bishop back to D3 or E2, well, now that gives me a little bit more time. He's not pressuring E6. So if he plays rook D6, that pawn isn't hanging. If he moves his bishop back. And if he goes bishop e3, well, then I can go c5 and then trap the bishop and win more time that way. But the issue is that this just loses because of bishop e4. Like, it just, I'm lost. If I move my king back, well, he just takes a pawn, and my knight's hanging. And if he, I was still thinking, like, oh man, what if he just sacrifices here and then checks and then goes here? And I was like, what am I doing? Even then he can do that. But if he plays bishop before check, and if I block, but now he takes here. And now if I take here, my knight's hanging. And I'm like, bro, I'm lost. Game's over. So if I play c5, I lose. I lose. I can't play c5. So I would have to just go back. So, by God's grace, once again, he doesn't find it. And now I play c5. And now, it's not horribly bad for me. It's just really bad. He plays a little bit slowly. I mean, at this point, not sure if White has anything better, but he plays a3. And I could play c4, but I don't like how his bishop gets in. I pushed a5. Let's think about my last 7 moves. I pushed a pawn. I pushed a pawn. I pushed a pawn. I pushed a pawn. That was not for 7. That was more like 5. But still. I have pushed literally every single one of my pawn and have not moved 3 of my pieces. But I think I'm okay. I'm actually okay because the fact that he missed, bishop b4 check, just winning on the spot, because he missed bishop g5 check earlier in the game. Like, he's actually missing these dark square bishop moves. Like, by some reason, he's missing them. And so, when I was playing him, I'm like, okay, this guy is 1400. No, I was thinking to myself, because I messed up my move order. I was really dumb. However, he has not punished me at all. And actually, I'm going to take over the game. Watch this 1900 get to work. So I played a5. Well, I didn't think that way until after he played a4. After he played a4, I'm like, now let the 1900 cook. Because, well, sorry, I'm 1800. That was my former identity. My former identity is a 1900. I've been 1800 for like 6 months now, so I can no longer say I'm 1900. But now I thought about a while. Like, firstly, I thought about b4. That was my first thought because I win a pawn. I'm like, cool, I win a pawn because let's say bishop d2 or bishop. My cat's meowing. I don't know if you guys can. But if I go b4, it goes bishop b1, then I can take here. But then I was like, or even bishop d2 might be better. Like bishop d2, and if I take the pawn, rook e1, and I'm like, bro, I'm activating his piece. Like, this is genuinely terrifying and horrible and not good. So okay, b4 is out of the question. I want to go c5, or I'm gonna go c4. And my idea was, he has to defend his bishop, and I'm going b4. And now I kick back his bishop. I thought he would defend his pawn with bishop d4, which I thought that would be fine. But he actually went bishop e1, which actually makes a lot of sense because he wants me to take. He's like, please take the pawn, so then he can have open lines towards my king. But of course, after he moves his bishop back to e1, I don't. I just protect my pawn. I protect my pawn on c4, and I'm saying your bishop is stupid. This bishop is not good either. And now, you have no threats. Now I'm going to take over. Because now, after you move your bishop to g3, I'm going to play h5. Don't need to kick your bishop around even more. And when you play h4, I'm not going to push my pawn to g4 and allow you to get in. And I'm not going to take your pawn, allowing you to check me. I'm just going to play knight h6. And after you take, I play knight f5. And this is what happened in the game. Just look at the quality of my pieces now. Now I have this knight that has an outpost, basically. Even though this pawn could theoretically kick my knight out in the future, this pawn on h5 really anchors my knight on this f5 square. And I can eventually move my knight to b6 and d5, and I have really good control, and his bishop is always bad. He goes bishop f4 to defend, to keep guard of both of his pawns, and to get out of danger from the knight, and to defend the fork, of course. I play knight b6, attacking the pawn, and there's no good way for him to defend. I would love if you played b3, allowing me to trap in his bishop forever. Like, dude, this bishop did horrible crimes. I've never seen a bishop commit more crimes than this one because it's in jail. But of course he doesn't do that because that would be too good for me. I was thinking like maybe he played c3 to try to, get me, open up this diagonal for his bishop. And in which case, if he did play c3, like then I could always just take, and I'm happy. For example, here. He does trade off his bishop for my knight, but in this case, well, like I said, I have a fork. So he actually can't take my knight. Not quite a fork, but the point is he doesn't take my knight, and I win a pawn. So I was hoping he'd make a move like c3 and lash out because it's not good. But yeah, so I played the knight b6, and I'm like, I'm hoping he overreacts and plays b3, and he doesn't. He plays rook d2. And at this point, I spent so much time trying not to lose that by this point, I have 11 minutes after my move, knight d5. And he eventually, thinks for a couple minutes and plays king h2. And now I have to consider a few things. Well, firstly, do I want to take the pawn? Before I play knight d5, do I want to take the pawn? And I decided it's probably good, but I don't want to do it. For example, if he doubles up on the rook, if he doubles up with his rooks, I can literally I don't have to take the second pawn. I can just go back to b6. Like, genuinely. And my knights guard the infiltration squares, and I can also just go knight d5. In hindsight, this is probably what I should have done. Because he literally can't do anything else. If he goes c3, I take it twice. If he goes b3, well, if he goes b3, then I would go knight c3, attacking his bishop. So he can't do that. That wouldn't be good. So I should have just called his bluff and take the pawn. I mean, his position is so bad that I can just do that. I can just take the pawn on the edge of the board and bring my knight back to guard my king. Because if he does double up and I do get greedy, then it's just like, why? Like, why am I doing this? It might be fine, but why am I doing this? Like I said, it's probably fine. But why? There's no reason to do this. There really isn't. Actually, no way. Oh my gosh. This rook is hanging no matter what. Because all the squares are covered by the knights. I did not see that. Oh my gosh, I did not see that at all. Okay. Well, instead of that, like, in a position like this, as the higher rated player, I don't want to do anything for it. And I just want my opponent to sit in their bad position. Like, I want them to stew in their bad position. And like, I don't want to force trades. I don't want to do anything. I'm just like, you have a bad position. I should have taken the pawn though. I should have. Hi, buddy. I should have just taken the pawn. That's what I really should have done. But I don't. I play knight d5. He goes king h2, and now I spend. I have 11 minutes before this move. 5 minutes. I'm so bad at time management. I should not be thinking on a move like this for 6 minutes. I just, when I have 11 and the time control is +10. Is it a bad move? No. The reason why I did this move is because I kind of want to improve my king's placement as much as possible. And I think later on in the endgame, I'm going to bring my king to g6 and f5 and g4 or e4 and wreak havoc in his position later on. And then maybe I'll go knight b6 and knight a4 whenever I want to. That's not a bad idea. However, I'm so slow. That was dumb. He goes g3, I go king g6, and now he goes c3. By this point, I'm no longer annotating, so eventually I'll tell you guys when I don't remember the exact move orders, but I'm in a pure time scramble. Like, this is, I have 2 minutes at this point, maybe 1 minute. He goes c3, and this was exactly what I was hoping for. I was like, yes, perfect. But the thing is, like, I'm up a pawn just like I would have been if I took the pawn on a4. Like, this is actually no different. He goes rook c1. I could take the pawn on a4, but now I'm just doing more pawn trades, so I don't want to do that. So I took the bishop, he took back, and now I played knight d4, and threatening potentially to fork and win this g5 pawn. Not that it's that important. I'm also stopping the rook on a2 from going back to c2, so giving me more time to potentially double up on the c file, or maybe bring my rook to c6 and the other rook to b8, something like that potentially. Like, there's a lot of opportunities here and just I'm centralizing my knight. d4 is central square, hitting a lot of important squares. I can always go knight b3 potentially to hit this rook. He goes king g2 to avoid the fork and also centralize his king. And this position is just much better. Oh, sorry, for black, much better. I decided to go king f5, and I've always kept in mind this idea of h4. H4, I can always play h4. Even earlier, when my knight was on f5 and my king was on e7, I always thought about this move of h4 to prevent g3. I never thought it was valuable enough to do it, and I could do other moves instead that improved my position. But probably h4 earlier in the game was probably good. But I play king f5, just centralizing my king. And he plays rook a3. Not sure. I think it's because he wanted to beat king e4 with rook check. I think that's why. But even that doesn't look that good because now my king is centralized. Like, it looks kind of good here. White does have this passed pawn, but it shouldn't all because if he ever pushes it, I win it back literally immediately. So that was another consideration. Was that like I have to sometimes be worried about this passed pawn, but with my king and my rook so close, for really a turn. So even though I said I have to be concerned about it, I actually don't. But I have to think about it though. He plays rook a3, and that just allowed my knight to get to e2, and I commence and trade. He goes, if he doesn't go rook f1, then I just win. I just win this g3 pawn, and now he has these two pawns that are really weak. So he defends it, and I take on f4. If he takes back with the rook, of course, then he has two hanging pawns. And I actually don't know which one I would take. I assume I would take this pawn because now these are just doubled, and these aren't central pawns. It's a little bit, scary looking because, his rooks check me, but now my king is closer to the center, and he has to, block the passed pawn. And now that allows me to push my other passed pawn, and like now I'm just super, super happy. I'm gonna push this pawn, and if he stops me, I'm gonna push this pawn. And I'm like, wow, life is awesome. Life is great. I love life right now. But the issue is, well, not the issue, but so that's why he doesn't take with the rook. He takes with the pawn instead, defending everything. And I'm like, cool. I have the ideal rook placement. Look at my rooks. Look at these passed pawns, bro. Let's push him. Push the pawn. He moves his king, so then he can move his rook to defend against the passed pawn. I push it again, he blocks it. Okay? When I block that pawn, I push the other pawn. At this point, I have under 30 seconds, and I'm like, I'm going to win this game! And I came back from a dead loss opening. I'm going to push this pawn. I came back because my knights were so good, and now I traded off my knights at the right moment with a pawn of advantage. But now my rooks are so good. This rook on h8 never moved! This guy never moved. And, he plays g6. And I have to give credit where credit is due. g6 is a very... It's a last-ditch effort, but a very effective one. I'm in time pressure. He's playing move g6. What I need to do is not take it. It was hard for me to calculate with so little time, but if I play h3, I was worried with g7. And if I move my rook to keep an eye on this pawn, then he can promote and then take this pawn. That's not a concern though, because I can just push and I promote. He can't stop promotion. I did not see that though. I did not see that in the game. So I thought, oh my gosh, like, what if this happens? And then I don't have my rook on the open file. Like that's not good. I should just deal with the pawn immediately and take. No, Nathan, no, don't do that. That was so dumb. Don't take the pawn. That was so dumb, Nathan. In my view, in hindsight, I think the main, what I should do is just play rook hg. He cannot touch this pawn with the king or the rook. Not possible. Can't do it. Not possible. He has nothing. If he goes here to attack my pawn, I take this pawn, and after he goes here, I can just take, well, after we trade, I go check, and I take this pawn, and this pawn is hanging, and I will most likely go on to win this game. This is winning. If he goes here, that's fine, probably. I can just go here. And if he takes, I'm just going to push. It's game over. It's game over. It's game over. Sorry, I am so tired of being disastrous. Like, I think with the king, and now his king is activated. This isn't losing. Heck, it could still even be winning. I don't think so, but theoretically it could be. One thing I could do right now is push the pawn, forcing him to take. and then trading, and then get my king in. This endgame might still be winning. Because if he goes here, I go check, and I take here. And actually, look at it now, this is still winning. I actually didn't realize that until right now. I haven't looked at the game since I played it. This is still winning. This is still winning. This is still winning. Oh my gosh, this is still winning. I go rook here. He blockades the pawn. This move hits this pawn, pins this pawn to the king. It allows me to potentially double up. Or I can go rook d8. I go rook d8. If he takes this pawn, I'm going to go rook d1. Go to rook h2. I double up on the fourth. Defends the pawn. I panic and play rook e4 because I have no time. I play this move, maybe 2 seconds on the clock, maybe 3. He takes. And now, we trade. And this is no longer winning. At this point, I stopped notating for a while, and I lost track of where exactly I messed up. What exactly the move order was. But I believe eventually, he wants to keep my king on g6. He goes rook a2, and I go. I have in my notation rook b4, or in the system rook b4. I think I might have gone rook a3 looking at it now, because I wanted to potentially go check, but he doesn't allow me to. And then I go here, and then he goes here, and then I go here. But he goes here, and I go here. Then like eventually, like he goes here, and I go here, and he goes here, and I go here, like here or something like that, and I go, and then he goes here. And I don't think he actually goes or because he would allow me to get my. And I go here, and then he goes here, and he goes here. Something like. I don't win this. I lose. I don't know. I don't remember how it happens. Like I do checks a bunch of times, and like eventually he goes like check. If I go here, it's actually checkmate. Then I go back, and then eventually, I don't even know how it happened, but he wins this pawn somehow. He goes like rook here, and well, he gets his king in. That's the issue. Like somehow his king gets to g5, then eventually he kicks my king out even more. Then he wins this pawn. Can't really trade these pawns. Like for example, like say I don't even know something like this, and something I don't know. Say I do something like this. This, 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 checks here. Ethan's made a couple times, and like even this draw, I don't hold. I lose. I lose this. This was a really painful. It's actually even more painful now knowing that I had more chances. I threw that end game. If there's a will, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And after the game, the first thing he said, like, wow, I thought you were going to wheels your way out to a draw. And I'm like, I was not going to wheels my way out to a draw. I was going to wheels my way out to a win. I didn't say it like that. I congratulated him. That was pretty painful. That was pretty painful. Hopefully I'm not coming off as too arrogant. But yeah, that was a tough loss. Anyways, I will hit the game review, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.